Hello everyone, what's up? In this Warhammer basing tutorial, I'll show you how I painted and weathered this 100mm base for my Custodes Orion Dropship, using a resin basing kit from Micro Studio. Are you looking for the easiest way to paint realistic stone or ruin bases? Or maybe you just want to know how to use weathering pigments on your bases? Either way, this video is for you. Let's start, shall we? Instead of the flimsy plastic base that came with the Orion Dropship, I decided to go for three 100mm MDF bases glued together. I used a Dremel to sand the sides smooth, and I carved that cross-shaped insert for the flyer stand by hand using a flat 1.5mm engraver and some elbow grease. Next, I carefully primed the base using AK black primer with Microfiller, which would help close the pores in the MDF and make sure that the texture paste that I would be applying next would have no issues sticking to the base. This entire step was probably largely redundant, but old habits die hard. After letting the primer dry for 24 hours, I inspected the base again, and in particular the sides, to make sure that everything looked nice and smooth. Happy with the results, I got some of the resin bits from my Micro Studio basing kit and checked the layout. Needless to say, I had already washed all of the resin carefully. Armed with some medium thickness superglue, I then glued each of the resin bits in place. As an anecdote, I completed this and the next step during a hobby hangout with some of my friends from my Discord server. I'm not so good at multitasking, I will admit, but this was a lot more fun, so thank you guys. Next, I started to apply my favorite neutral texture paste, which can really fit any sort of setting for your base or diorama. The best way to apply it is to have a water pot nearby and make sure that your brush is always damp as you apply the paste with it. A flat brush works well in most cases, although you could always use a spatula if you had more space. While I chatted away with some of you guys in the Discord, I just kept going methodically, taking extra care with the edges between the resin bits and the base. Blending that transition is critical to getting a realistic end product. For the harder to reach spots, I switched to a smaller round brush, and in particular for those transitions, I made sure to add more water. Once entire base was covered with the texture paste, I gave every inch a once over with just water, making sure that everything blended nicely. After it was all done, I checked my work again, and I was really happy with the results. 24 hours later, it was time for, you guessed it, primer again. Now, I won't bore you with the details, but suffice it to say that, like always, I took my time and built opacity gradually. In particular, I wanted to make sure that I hit all the nooks and crannies, leaving no white or gray showing anywhere. When I was done, I highlighted all the stone parts with white primer, and once again, I let the base dry for 24 hours. For all the flagstones, I went with the aptly named Steingrau, or Stone Gray, by AK Real Colors, diluted around 50% with AK High Compatibility Thinner, which works well enough with these paints and is less toxic than any of the other lacquer thinners that I normally use. I sprayed this mix at around 20 psi with my trusty Patriot 105, going very gentle on the trigger at first, in order to build up opacity gradually with successive passes of the airbrush. In other bases from the same Micro Studios range, like the one I painted for my Telemon Dreadnought, I always tried to mask off some areas before I applied a secondary color. In this particular case, however, I decided not to do this, as the rubble would make this very difficult. Therefore, I decided to simply paint the secondary color on top, which I knew would result in less contrast. In any case, unlike with the Telemon, the base wouldn't be such a focal point for the model, so I thought that I would concentrate on making sure that it was absolutely bomb-proof as a base and striking enough for the battlefield. The reason that I'm explaining this is that if you want to take your own base to the next level, this is one area where you can easily improve over mine. I'll mention something else for possible improvement in the weathering stages. But I digress. This is the aforementioned secondary color, the slightly darker and more brownish Steingrau, also from the AK Real Colors line. And speaking of lines, as you can see, this is just a matter of coloring inside the lines. My third color was rubber black, which I decided to apply to the entirety of the dirt between the stone tiles and also to the sort of panel lines between tiles. Even if it's called black, you can see that this paint has an interesting greenish shade to it. Here you can see me create some panel shading with this paint. My apologies for the poor quality of the shots. This is really hard to shoot for me. The moral of the story, in any case, is that even with a 0.5mm needle, which my friend James calls the water hose, it is actually quite easy to apply neat shading lines with some practice and with the right trigger. Now, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I modified my stock Patriot 105 with the finger rest and in particular the trigger from the Patriot Extreme, and this is a cheap mod that makes a big difference for detail work like this. Anyways, after this I decided to apply some dry brushing to the dirt using my Ammo Dio paints. In my haste to get this done, however, I did not use any dedicated brushes, because they were all dirty and waiting for me to clean them. The results I got were mediocre, but rather than redo everything, I decided to move on and concentrate on the weathering stages. After that, I went with white for the flagstones, and this time I made sure not to overdo it. When I was done, I prepared the base for the all-important weathering stage with a couple of coats of Tamiya X22 clear coat, thinned around 50% with Tamiya lacquer thinner. A normal acrylic varnish, for example a rattle can one, will also work well, but make sure that it's gloss varnish, not matte or satin. Before I move on to weathering, a quick word on the candles. I applied some masking putty and then airbrushed a quick coat of Mr. Color Gloss White. There was very little overspray, and I was happy with the results. Finally, weathering. This is Starship Wash, one of my favorite enamel washes by Ammo. I always stain enamels at least 30%, then give them a good mix and test the consistency. In this case, I added some more thinner as I wanted to make sure that this would flow really well. As you can see, applying this wash was not only very easy, but really satisfying. Thanks to the capillary action that we enhanced with the application of a gloss coat, the wash flowed as if by magic. I also really liked the combination of colors between the wash and the rubber black for the dirt. These go really well together. For the flagstones, I went with black wash by Ammo, which I knew would be perfect to bring all of those skull motifs to life. One thing I should have done but forgot to do was to go with yet a third enamel color for the more brownish parts of the stones. Again, this is an area where it would be really easy for you to improve on my efforts. A dark brown wash, for example, would have been perfect. In any case, I was happy with these results. 4 hours later, it was time for the inevitable cleanup operation. As you can see, these triangular makeup sponges are absolutely perfect for the job. Unlike Q-tips, they don't leave any residue behind, and you won't need to use any thinner whatsoever for this. When I was done, it was time for pigments. Using a soft makeup brush, I sprinkled the pigments onto the base, trying to draw a sort of map as I went. Then, with a stubbier makeup brush, I used a stippling motion to blend the pigments into the base. It's crucial to note that I did this about 6 hours after the enamel washes, which meant that they were not fully dry yet. I did this deliberately so that the enamels would fix the pigments into place, but also blend together. I always apply pigments in a couple of passes. Here is a second, more aggressive one. This was the result when done. And this was the result after letting everything dry and applying a coat of matte varnish. At this stage, I decided to apply a second course of dry brushing, but this time in a more careful fashion. Once this was done, there was one important step left: reinforcing the shading. For this, I went with a liquid pigment by Lifecolor, Black Umber. This has a dark, greenish hue, airbrushes beautifully, and creates a convincing finish when dry. I changed the camera orientation here to make sure that you guys could see this step well. So I hope you enjoyed. For me, I have to say that this was the most enjoyable part of the entire project, funnily enough. One small step I took before I dealt with the flyer stem was to apply an oil wash to the candles. So this is me liberally applying construction glue. Yes, the stuff that comes in a caulking gun. I really didn't want to use superglue for this, as I wanted something that was absolutely bomb-proof, considering the huge weight of the Orion Dropship and the fact that I play with a bunch of kids at my school club, my own son included. When I was happy with the positioning of the stem, I decided to apply some more glue to the joints, even if this meant getting glue onto the clear plastic. Fast forward to the finished product. So what happened in between? Well, a few things, and all of them off camera, I'm afraid. First of all, I painted the rim of the base black using Vallejo Gloss Black Primer, which adds a protective layer of polyurethane, which I knew from my Warhound Titan is perfect for ensuring the safe handling of large heavy models. Secondly, I added another course of pigments, and I painted the parts which had glue showing, which brings me to the stem. I deliberately airbrushed a couple of different liquid pigments to the lower area of the stem instead of removing the construction glue, which I could have done. This was a spur-of-the-moment thing, and I actually think it creates a more natural transition from the rest of the base to what is inevitably a completely fake element, which is out of place, let's be honest. In other words, for me at least, when taking battlefield shots, I found that it breaks immersion less. So does the base work well with the Orion Dropship, aesthetically and otherwise? See for yourselves. By the way, my son and I played a 3000 point Horus Heresy game with the Orion the very day after I finished the base, and we really had a blast with it. Anyways, I hope that you've all enjoyed this video. Before I let you go, I would like to thank all of my YouTube members. Your support makes a real difference to me and it allows me to keep the lights on. That is all for now from me, folks. But remember, keep it up and weather it out.